And last, I want to talk about the issue of vision. What we have not seen out of our leaders is vision about where we should be as a nation and where we need to be in the next decade. You know, when we had John F. Kennedy as a president, he had vision about what he wanted to do. His #1 goal was to put a man on the moon. And he prepared the nation for this. And he said, this is something we are going to do in the next decade, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because it's something that's going to measure our innovation and success. It's going to be something that we are unwilling to postpone and something we are going to do now because we want to win. He had a vision for success for this nation. He had a vision for greatness. I think we have an opportunity here with energy independence. There is no greater market opportunity in the world today than actually creating the new fuels and new technologies to make us independent of Middle Eastern oil. I want America to be the country that is the market leader. Because when America is the market leader, it is how you say outsourcing is not inevitable. It is how you actually build our agricultural base. It's how you build our manufacturing base to keep our economy strong, to build the middle class. The great middle class of our nation is what distinguishes America from many countries around the world. It is what's made us so economically competitive decade after decade. And this administration has done nothing but to push down the middle class with higher taxes, with higher gas costs, higher energy costs, and higher health care costs. And that has to stop. So we need people who are going to say, how do we become energy independent in the next 10 years? What kind of tax credits and tax incentives and research and development investments is going to make the difference to bring in the private equities markets, to bring in the venture capital markets, and create real investments here at home? And this district, with the Hudson River running right through it, is the foremost place we should have energy independence. We have hydropower in this district. We've had it for decades. We have fuel cell technology being developed right in Albany. We have extraordinary amounts of farmland where each of our farmers would love to have a second revenue stream of planting an alternative fuel that creates biofuels or ethanol. These are challenges that are in our face right now that we should not only overcome, but we should lead these new technologies. We should tell Detroit, build the car. Make sure it gets 5% more miles per gallon every year. Get to 60 miles per gallon in 10. If Detroit did that, we would sell those cars around the world. And that is how we protect our manufacturing base. Election day is 2 weeks away. I cannot thank you enough for being out here on this chilly, chilly day. The reason why it's worth it is because your commitment will win this election. There is no way any candidate can win an election alone. John Hall and I need you, each one of you, to make this your passion. Because if you spend the next 2 weeks going door to door, making phone calls, talking to your friends, talking to the lady who does your hair, talking to the lady who you meet at the CVS counter or at the Stewart's counter, anyone that you speak to between now and Election Day, ask them who are you going to vote for and why, and then have a discussion. Talk about your passion. Talk about the Iraq War. Talk about the new direction that we need. Talk about the fact that our veterans aren't receiving the health care benefits they earned. Yeah. Talk about the fact that our soldiers were sent to Iraq without body armor or training. Talk about the fact that your family can no longer afford health insurance because it's too expensive. Talk about whatever issue is your passion and convince that voter to vote. Convince them to vote for me. Convince them to vote for John. Convince them to vote for our local candidates who are around this field right now. This election is about change. It's about our country. It's about democracy. It's about taking a stand. And I will tell you, I know this to the bottom of my heart and every bone in my body. I got my interest in politics through my grandmother, and she was just like the women standing out here today. She believed that women had a role in politics and that their voice mattered and that their participation mattered. And as a secretary in the state legislature, she organized every woman in that legislature. It was the women of the legislature. They became the Women's Democratic Party of Albany. And what those women did over the next 4 decades is they elected candidates. And they elected candidates because of their sheer will. They went door to door, they passed out flyers, they did phone banking, and they had an impact on their communities and who represented them. That is the power each one of you have. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that you are working to make this change in America. It is a change that must happen, and when we the people stand up, we will see a brighter future for our children and for our grandchildren. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you. Our most famous